Hey, hey, y'all. It is Miss Flo, and you are watching and listening to Go with the Flow that is now on several platforms. Of course, if you want to interact and join the conversation, you always will join the Twitch live stream every Friday night at 10:30. We're running a little bit behind. It's been a long week, but I'm here, folks. And of course, if you missed the stream, that's okay because I will post the recordings on my YouTube channel, Noir Vibes DC, and then of course it'll be distributed to our audio podcast distributed to all audio platforms: Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, so many other platforms. If you have it, I'm on there. Thank you guys so much for joining this episode. It's a Friday night, and I appreciate you guys coming in and being supportive. Today I have my best Judy, Marcel. Thank you, Marcel, for coming to this episode.
It's always great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you. There's been a lot going on this week, mostly good, and why I'm like very tired. Um, we are in preparation for our Black History performance that's next week. And we recently had our Black History 365, where it wasn't just like my high school, it was all of the campuses, ranging grades ranging from like kindergarten to 12th grade, and it was really good. um we have some really talented young people, really just exceptional work on all sides, and kudos to teachers in the fine arts that managed to bring out the talent in our young folks. Um, Everybody did such an amazing job. It turned out really well. Our visual art department um, turned it out as well. I just wish that more people had a chance to really see it because I've been working. I've been earning my paycheck this week, ripping and running. Definitely burned some calories for sure. That's why I'm a little like you can see the exhaustion in my face, but I really wanted to hop on, especially with what we're about to talk about today. But before we dive into before we dive in to today's topics, I really want to take this moment to highlight women-owned businesses during Women's History Month. We don't want to just celebrate women that has paved the way. We also want to make sure that we celebrate women that are making moves today. Um, and I'm just all about female empowerment, you know. Um, the first person I want to highlight is the person that I'm wearing her earrings right now. Also Pretty in Paint by Anastasia Sanchez. Oh my God, let me start over with that because I'm so tongue-tied, but like I really want to take the moment to highlight such an amazing talent. Um, Also pretty in paint. As you can see, like I really like the DC shaped earrings, and I got a couple of them in different styles and colors. Um, you can find her work at Femme Fatale in DC. As you can see on the screen, uh, it's at 3409 Connecticut Avenue Northwest. And you could DM her. She does do commissions. So there's something, if you don't see anything that you like in her shop, she's also available on Etsy. She will make something for you, which I think is really great. Like if I have like a really great idea for an earring, I will definitely hit her up because I really love, I'm a DC girl. So I'm a rep DC however I can. Um, but if you go to, I'm gonna just go to her IG real quick so I make sure I pronounce her name and give her the respect that she deserves. Anastasia Sanchez O'Neill, Afro Latina. And this is her Instagram. So whenever you have a moment, make sure that you follow and support this young lady. She does excellent work. She makes all sorts of jewelry, um, and art. So please, please, please make sure that you hit her up and get you some amazing accessories. Um, the next person that I'm going to promote here because I've been going to their parties for some time now. Marcel, I really need to take you to the next Plus Ultra event because it is it is a true experience. And I'm not really like a party person. I'm
Hmm.
more like in-house, but just to speak a little bit about this organization, Plus Ultra Entertainment, who has worked closely with AwesomeCon, BlurCon, um, they work with the city. The pop-up spring event that happened last year was just they just do such amazing work. They have announced several upcoming events, but there's one event that I am really excited for because it's just so out there. So they have recently announced the Villains Ball, and I want you to just take a look at this promo real quick. So please make sure that you get your tickets now if you're interested in going to the Villains Ball. Um, make sure that, yeah, you can see this. If you go get your tickets now, um, if you're just a villain, it's $75. If you want super villain status, it's gonna cost more. But let me just explain the packages real quick. So the villain package is open bar. You'll have some complimentary food and open seating. But the super villain package, on top of like the open bar complimentary food, is guaranteed seating. You get a private photo shoot, private bar, and a swag bag. Um, oh, it went up, or unless they included they included tax and fees. So here's the pricing here. So if you're just a villain, you're gonna pay like 81.88. If you reach your super villain status, then it's $188.58. So Plus Ultra is ran by, let me make sure I pronounce her name correctly. I Let me just say thank God for Google Translate in their built-in speech because I be really wanting to promote. Ooh, sorry. I've been really wanting to promote like so many people, but then I butcher their names and I feel so bad. So like let me like it is terrible, but you might hear it in the stream. Let me just Rakois. So the founder of Plus Ultra Entertainment is Rakois. She is a recording artist, so she has music out there. She is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the platforms. So make sure you Rakois. Um, hit her up, check out her music, but also support Plus Ultra Entertainment. She has done an excellent job in providing a safe space for a variety of nerds. I have met so many interesting people from all walks of life. And it's a great safe space for everyone. So please support Plus Ultra Entertainment. Check out any of the you can first follow them. Follow them on Instagram so you can stay up to date on upcoming events and appearances. Um, and of course, I will be attending the Villains
Hmm.
Ball, and I've already picked who I already picked who I'm going to be. but I'm gonna let you guys take a guess. All right. So for each episode, I'll be dropping clues for the villain's ball, and whoever gets it right they will receive a prize. So just FYI, I've been planning out like working out merchandise for my publication and the podcast. I found a distributor, um, Printify, if you ever get a chance to look them up. And I'm really excited for this move because it is very hard to you know, to really commit to like getting merchandise and things like that because my biggest fear is like, oh, I have to commit to like having these many items shipped to my place, and I'm in a condo, so I'm only on one floor. It's like it's a very small space, so like having to commit to having boxes delivered to my place, and then having the responsibility of doing all the mailing and shipping, but Printify actually takes care of all of that. I just have to connect a link to my website and bada bing, bada boom. So once I launch my website, there will be merchandise available, and the winners will, whoever guessed whatever villain that I will portray, um, you'll receive various merchandise as well as the opportunity to be a guest host on the show. So here's my first clue. This villain has money. So this villain is very wealthy. Pockets are full. Okay. So that is your first clue as to the villain that I will be portraying. So again, keep your guesses. You can at me at Noir Vibes DC on Twitter or on Facebook and submit your guesses. And it's fine. I may share some of the guesses just to see like what you guys are thinking. All right. Um, Now, I hate to go into this because like topics like what I'm about to go over right now is like super heavy. It's very disappointing because I feel like it's been such a prosperous week, like such a like good week, but and just FYI, I originally wanted to talk about the weekend's concert, HBO Max. I wanted to go into Chris Rock's recent Netflix special because there's a lot to break down with that. I wanted to talk about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie because it looks very promising, and April O'Neil is black, so I wanted to highlight that. But like, I really couldn't because there's so many things that are going on in this country that is beyond disturbing, and it's heartbreaking, um, to be honest, and it just hurts my soul to really see this. And for those that know me, like I have I, I work with high school students, and we have our journalism program. So part of me wants me to let me get my thoughts together because it's like Marcel, this is like really heavy and really hard to talk about.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And I wanted part of me wants to have my students talk about it. And we talked about it in the group chat a little bit, and one of my students said like part of them wants to like take it on, but the other part of him is like, I may break down and cry as I'm doing it. And I truly felt that. You know what I mean? Because our young folks are about to witness our country going backwards. And it's truly disheartening. Um, I'm just flabbergasted on like how far we're really going back. Like it's not even it's surreal. It's like it's something out of like a movie. You would not expect like this to be a thing. It's very weird. Um, I'm about to like just I think that instead of me just rambling, I just want to like highlight some of the things that I've seen. First, Mississippi is going back to Jim Crow. Like it is bizarre. Just hold on. Bear with me, y'all. It's a long day and I'm working tech, but hear this out.
A racist law, a racist voting dynamic in Mississippi. And they admit it is racist, but they're still going to uphold it anyway. They have now voted to uphold a Jim Crow law that Mississippi's white supremacist leaders adopted in 1890 in an attempt to disenfranchise black residents for life. White lawmakers designated certain crimes that they believed black people were more likely to commit as lifelong disenfranchising crime. The court's conservative majority admitted that the Jim Crow law was steeped in racism. They admitted it, but said the state had made enough changes in the 132 years since the override its white supremacist taint. Mississippi passing legislation to create a court system to govern only white people. A white supermajority of the Mississippi House voted to create a separate court system, an expanded police power inside of the blackest major city in the United States of America, the city of Jackson, Mississippi. This new court system would be orchestrated by a completely white panel of state officials. It is called House Bill 1020. It's decided to uphold.
This is disgusting and stupid because I'm trying to figure out how Mississippi lawmakers and judges are going to justify bringing back Jim Crow, saying, oh, it's not racist anymore. We evolved past that, but we're going to instill this anyway to have like a separate court system for black and white. There's so many things to break down. First of all, I would say this. I don't believe that we had ever had the same justice system for everybody. Minorities have always been sentenced differently and looked at differently within the justice system. That scale has never been balanced at all. Then you're gonna say the when Jim Crow was originally created, it was the whole notion of separate but equal. Whites use these type of facilities and blacks use these facilities. Like we don't have to intersect, right? But it was never equal. Anything that was labeled for colored only were always in the worst conditions. Was just trifling. Like I have seen documentaries where people have said white people had their dogs drink from the colored only fountains. So I'm just like, how could you say that we as a country have moved past racism and you are bringing back a racist law? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. I don't understand it. There's nothing that they could say or do. And this is why like I was really pushing critical race theory in my posts on social media and people were like, there's no need to dredge up the past. We deal with enough dark stuff already. I'm like, if y'all had this in the classrooms when these lawmakers were in school, they wouldn't be doing this. But to be honest, you can't say like they don't know what they're doing. This is intentional. This is very much intentional. Like when you just think about how many people have risked their lives, lost their lives to eliminate Jim Crow in the fight for desegregation, and to hear that these lawmakers in Mississippi are bringing it back, it's a slap in the face. Anybody that's a descendant from a person that have lost their lives or harmed while fighting Jim Crow, they should sue the state. They should sue, get your money, sue them, because this is just trifling. And it's very deliberate. As though it makes no sense. The only intention that they have with this law is to oppress people of color. That's it. There's no other justification for it. Marcel, how do you feel about this? Like, just hearing this news, like, how does this make you feel?
This is definitely not something that surprises me. I do feel like, well, we all know because we kind of experienced it. Racism and lack of representation and or equality for Black and other POC, but primarily Black people, has been very evident uh, forever because it hasn't died out. It's just taking different forms, right? Even to the point where it's become part of pop culture and entertainment. Like, there's a reason why we keep making like films about um, the murder of Black people. We keep refilming like murder of iconic figures, you know, um, and like I said, I can't say that I'm shocked about it. It's just the fact that this is the one state
This is with
that is,
Mississippi. Yeah,
yeah, is primarily being open with it. So it's like, you know, um,
it's kind of like thanks for the transparency, but
yeah,
we just
and it's
didn't.
not even just with like I mean, there's a lot of things that just go on where I've seen other politicians or like forms of government just say like uh they would say things like not only against Black people but Black queer people as well as like, well, that's not something we support. We are um we have been built off of certain traditions and we would like to maintain that way. So instead of them just saying that they're like racist or like homophobic or transphobic or anything in between, even colorists, they'll sit there and they'll just say, well, we have a certain amount of traditions we would like to keep up and are withheld. And so they try to form it in different ways where it sounds like not aggressive or like they're attacking people, but the underlying statement, like the fine print, is still there. That doesn't make it any better whatsoever, right?
No,
Um,
not in the least.
but I have a friend that moved from Alabama to Florida, and he often tells me about like how when he was younger, even though he's a light skinned, like he's mixed, but he's like a very fair skinned, like racially ambiguous person, and in those very like what southern states,
Hmm.
they still withhold a lot of their traditional laws, and or they just have them in different forms. So instead of them saying like Jim Crow laws, they'll say like um they'll say like Black people have a curfew or like some they'll do something that's real like in between the lines. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like I'm not surprised, but it is very heartbreaking to hear that you know people are still being brainwashed and or too ignorant to see how they're affecting how much progress, and I say progress with air quotes, we've
Hmm.
made in like the 21st century. Like it's like every time we take like 3 steps forward, we taking 17 steps backwards. So
Right. I think this is.
it's just a really upsetting, crazy thing.
I think this is just the government just being fearful of the power of the vote. I feel like since there have been a rise in voter participation, that they are now actively working to kind of disrupt that because they saw who came out for Stacey Abrams. They saw
Excuse
the
me.
turnout for Biden, Obama, you know, like people are realizing, like, are understanding the power of their vote. And
Right.
it's just the government just working to really shut that down. So, for all my young folk, I hope that you guys are registered. I hope that you guys um actually turned out to vote. I know, and I had this discussion with my students because after and we took a trip to Atlanta, Georgia to cover the election there because it was interesting to see, or we wanted to see, will, you know, Georgia turn blue again. Um, it was kind of mixed. Stacey didn't win, but Warnock did. So just 50-50 victory. Um, but just being after, like, I mean, we had the students study the debate, look at the campaigns, and one of my students said it was like watching the debate was like the dumbest thing ever, where you have grown adults that are bickering like children and not really, they're making a lot of promises, but they're not stating like an actual plan for the most part. Not all the candidates, but like some. And he was just like, it didn't want, it didn't want to make him vote. Like he wanted to just like not be involved with it at all. But after seeing what's going on in Mississippi and like some other states too, which we're about to get into, I'm like, I know a lot of y'all feel like you're choosing the lesser evil, or you're making a lot of times that you be making a compromise. Um, but your voice matters. Picking the right candidate matters more than ever that aligns with your values. You need a person that you know is going to make change and be a voice of reason for marginalized groups in this country. Just to just stay home and opt out of it is not an option anymore. You saw what happened with Trump. That should have been a lesson that we all learned from. But this is not a game anymore. We can't ignore it. We can't just walk away from it. We have to go to the voting booth and make sure the right person is in the seat of power. And Congress, those racist politicians see that. They see that you guys are coming out there and that y'all are putting in numbers. And that's why they're doing this for real, for real. So you need to be able to see that and really just be out there to vote. Now, some other disheartening news that we have encountered this week is the attack on drag queens and the trans community. Now, if y'all have listened to the podcast before, y'all know that I'm a huge RuPaul fan, RuPaul Drag Race fan. Marcel is the one that introduced me to the show. I started what? I think I started watching season 10 or All Stars 3, one of them. And Marcel was going on and on about the show. Marcel, you love the queens. Fingers crossed we get Marcel on the show one day. Um, but the attack, the trying to ban an artistic art form, a form of entertainment, because politicians are portraying it as, oh, it is corrupting our children. They're grooming the kids. It's a load of crap. There's nothing harmful about drag shows. I took my mother to one. It's a fun story. Um, it was the believe it wasn't this all night. It was the year before. We were on 8th Street and I happened to see a program to check out, a free drag show. Now, Mom already knows that I'm like a huge, the RuPaul fan and the Drag Race and all of that. And I wanted her to see it because I knew she would like it because, if you're a fan of drag, you would know they would play the classic hits. They're gonna play the Patty, they're gonna play the Gladys Knight, they're gonna play Aretha, they're gonna like play all the iconic classic hits and pay homage to those icons. But my mom was a little bit hesitant, and my mom is hesitant about going into queer spaces. Not that she has any prejudice against queer people, but she fears that queer spaces would be attacked. That's why she's always concerned when either Marcel and I would go out because she's worried that um somebody that's homophobic may do something. You know what I mean? This is like uh post shooting. We see the stories of like hate crimes in the gay community be under attack all the time. So she's very hesitant to enter those queer spaces. But we just so happened to end up staying, and she heard the music. As soon as the music came on, you know, then she was like doing her little step, you know what I mean? Just having the ball, like really enjoying herself. So and my mom is like very, I don't want to say she's liberal at heart. She was a Democrat, but you know what I mean? Like, if we watch a movie together and a sex scene comes on, she covers her eyes, she turns away, she's not about it. You know what I mean? Or try to fast forward. Like that type of person. So, like, my mom felt comfortable and had fun at a drag show. It is more than appropriate. More than appropriate. She had a ball. She even said, like, she'll be willing to go to, like, a drag brunch. She just have to get her butt up because she rarely gets up past noon. But like if someone like my mom feels comfortable at a drag show and watching these performers work, whether it's lip singing, telling jokes, singing for real, dancing, it's no different than you would go to a concert and then y'all have a problem with it, thinking it's corrupting children or is like endangering children. You're delusional. It's a distraction. It really is. Like, and we've seen this for decades. They have often used the LGBT community as, I don't even know what their fascination is. Like, gay people just be minding their gay business. And then they feel like they have to attack them and just put these labels on them and just isolate them from, it's very weird. You know that old saying is like if you're really homophobic and you are triggered by a gay person as they are minding their gay business, you are insecure about your own sexuality and you need to go to therapy. And a lot of lawmakers need to go to therapy. Look, I'm gonna just show you what I saw on IG because hold on, let me go to a different clip. It was this one by Josh.
To ban drag shows.
I could go to jail for 15 years.
But the man who signed the law has a secret.
The governor was confronted with that photo.
Dressing in drag in 1977. Remember this? What a ridiculous question that is. Conflating something like that to sexualize entertainment.
Right now, 36 states are trying to ban drag. Please sign the petition in my bio.
Is this you?
They're the first state in the country to
36 states could potentially ban drag. 36? That's more than half the country. Like Marcel, like just imagine like cuz we saw this season like so many queens that are coming from all over.
Mm-hmm.
Like all over the country, not just like California, LA, or New York. We're seeing them Connecticut, Texas. Trixie is from, is it Wisconsin or Wyoming? Trixie is,
Trixie Mattel.
yeah.
Trixie Mattel is from.
I want to say Wisconsin cheese because she has that accent sometimes. So I think it's Wisconsin. So I mean, you know what I mean? Like we have, so I think Jada Essence Hall is also from there.
Yeah, Trixie's from. Yeah, she's from Milwaukee.
You know what I mean? So like you have queens that have appeared on RuPaul's Drag Race, Dragula, like that are from all over this country, not just in the hot spots of Miami, LA, or New York. And I'm like, the next season of We Are Here is going to be a doozy. If you don't know what that show is, you have three Rue girls, Bob the Drag Queen, Sangela, and Eureka, who go around the country and they go to towns that's usually conservative, that don't scream gay and that don't necessarily get attention, like very small towns, very similar to Wong Fu type experience,
Mm-hmm.
and really work with the queer community there and make sure that they are seen in whatever law or homophobic or transphobic issue. They really work to bring attention to that and even work with local leaders and activists to push for change. It's a really good show. It's on HBO Max. It's very moving. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. And I just mentioned because like the end of the last season, they were in Florida fighting against the Don't Say Gay bill and making sure that trans kids are protected. And so just imagine like in those 36 states where you have drag queens that are not just doing this for fun. They're using this form of expression to create space for the queer community and really speak on queer issues. So to really ban this art form, it's like you're silencing voices. So this has to be in violation of the First Amendment, like you know what I mean, like freedom of speech. So I would hope that this would be taken to the Supreme Court. Like, do you feel with who we have on the Supreme Court that um there will be a ruling to overturn these bans? Oh, can you hear me? Okay, we might
Yeah.
have
Hello.
okay. Do you think the Supreme Court will rule in favor that will overturn these drag queen bands?
Um, I don't know. I feel like it's something that's ridiculous, and hopefully it doesn't, end up doing the opposite of what we want it to do. But I feel like the whole idea of the fact that they think that drag shows or drag race in general is affecting children is ridiculous. Um, you know, and 9 times out of 10, the ones that are seemingly quote unquote inappropriate because there's different drag shows for different types of people, just like there's different other forms of entertainment for different types of people. Why are y'all not blaming the parents for exposing their children to that type of art?
Mhm.
Um, it's almost the same idea as like Cardi B not letting her daughter watch her explicit music videos, but the parents who you know judge her are saying like, "Well, you made it, and you're like putting it out to our children." As parents, you have to monitor what your children watch. It's not these celebrities or these entertainers who are there to raise your children, and that's the
Right.
biggest like conversation of it all. And these conservatives have conservatives or these other people in the court have been doing this since like video games. Remember they were trying to say video games were ruining kids' lives, and
Right.
like they would like expose them to like gun violence and stuff like that. Picking up a controller does not make you want to shoot nobody.
Mhm.
Like, and you taking your kid to a drag show, especially a family friendly one, because we have comedy queens, we have dance queens who do elegant and age appropriate forms of
Yeah.
entertainment for children.
We had the children
Drag
reading
is a
hour.
drag is a certain type of expression where it's not that far away from going to an ice show or taking your children to go see like you know uh
Like a Disney
those
park, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
or like
Like Disneyland.
those dancing mascots or whatever they're called, the people they
Mhm.
bring to the parties to dance and stuff.
Right.
So I
It's
don't know.
just
I just think it's overall ridiculous, and I feel like it's just people are always going to fear what they don't understand, you
mm,
know. And so it always like go down into that, and I feel like sometimes like they would rather, which has also been a topic brought up in this same situation. They try to cover certain issues uh, to cover other issues, like how we talked about either personally or on a couple of the podcasts back about how like they were trying to cover uh, the the exploitation of drag shows for school shootings. You know, it's like they'll
yeah.
do. It's like if somebody's like, and this is like a crazy like, I guess comparison, but it's like if somebody's like sitting there like who twisted their ankle compared to like somebody who set a building on fire, you're gonna like try to cover that you tripped up the kid who twisted their ankle, and you're gonna try to say, "Oh, look, this house is on fire." You're trying to cover up a different type of thing to cover up something else that has nothing to do with what is involved. Like y'all are sitting here attacking uh drag performers to cover up that y'all really don't want to talk about gun laws and how we have too much of a free gun like training system, and kids can get guns so easily and shoot up these schools. And it's a too common of a thing, but y'all want to use drag shows and everything in between to cover that idea so that you're talking about the real issue. And that's the problem.
I mean, this is more than just gun violence that's running our look. It's more than gun violence that is
Right.
harming our country. Like, take a look at that whole oil spill based off that derailing in Ohio. That is a huge environmental crisis, and it's not really being talked about enough. Like, the most I've heard about it is like through social media. I'm just like, and these were regulations that were removed during the Trump administration, and look where we are at now. It's a hot mess. People could end up being really sick. These are things that are harmful to children. to anyone, really.
Definitely.
And then we're already have a broken healthcare system. Like my dad recently had to get his cataracts removed, and but his job switched his insurance company. So like the new one like wouldn't really pay for most of it, so he ended up having to do like $9,000, over $9,000 out of pocket for
Mm.
his eyes. And I'm just like, the hell? Like there's so many things that are happening in this country. People have to make the most impossible decisions to choose paying their light bill or for their medication.
Right.
Um, Trying to stay off the street, doing OnlyFans, the or other forms of like sexploitation just to make ends meet. I mean, drag shows are not hurting anyone. It's like the one of the few realms to escape from all of the drama and depression. Many a drag queens have said like this art form has saved their lives. And the fact that our country is so quick to try to take that away from them is murder. It's pure murder. And the attack doesn't stop there. They're attacking drag kids. No, I'm sorry, not drag kids. They're attacking trans youth. So let me pull this up because I want to make sure that I get this information correct. And this is again Tennessee. Tennessee. You're not the 10 I see, Tennessee. It's giving ones across the board because you decided that you are going to force trans youth to detransition. So if they're under the age of 18, they can no longer receive gender affirming care. According to the ACLU, under a new law, trans youth already receiving gender affirming health care as of July 1st, 2023, will be forced to lose access to such care after March 31st, 2024 in Tennessee. Youth not receiving care by July 1st, 2023 will be unable to begin receiving care in Tennessee. That I Let me just say this because I know a few. I have one trans student in my program, and his mother does not support their identity whatsoever. And they really struggle with how to express their gender. We have deep discussions. It's like, well, what is a man? What is a boy? You know what I mean? Because we know that it's not simply boiled down to um, reproduction organs. It's deeper than that, but it's always changing. You know what I mean? It's becoming like a very complex question, but they have no means of really doing anything, not even clothing to really express their gender most of the time, you know? Um, and it's been a real challenge for them. So when you do have parents that are supportive and understanding and that are willing to ensure their child can express how they identify. And then you have the government that comes in and says, no, this is wrong, or God says they're perfect the way they are. I can just imagine that they're going to feel with what my student is feeling. And it's devastating, especially because, like, he told me that he knew he was a boy at age of 8. Nobody had a discussion with him about gender identity. Nobody was teaching it at this time. And most trans people have similar stories that they knew at a young age that they knew who they were. And they could come from a variety of households, whether liberal or conservative, it doesn't matter. You know in your spirit who you are. The fact that they are saying that teaching our youth about gender identity is a form of grooming is just absolutely false. Do not believe this propaganda. Actually, take some time to reach out to someone who is trans and hear their story, because you will learn a lot from their experience. Ignorance is not a form of circumstance, it's a choice. Y'all can reach out and talk to some people about this, and then you would truly understand how wrong these laws, these laws are. Um, Marcel, I feel like you are a person who has really grown comfortable in their skin. If you could just take a moment to kind of speak not only your feelings about what's going on in Tennessee in regards to the attack on trans youth, but just like in your journey of your gender identity.
So I feel like it's a very touchy subject when it comes to children, but you definitely should not tell them how to express themselves whatsoever. It's already hard enough, like growing up in this world where you're going to be judged by whatever you do. But the worst feeling in the world is being judged by the people who you hold near and dear the most, because they're supposed to love you no matter what. As long as you're not hurting somebody, they're supposed to love you in the most authentic way possible, because you would not have a life without, your both your parents. And for them to bring you into this world and to, um, judge you just as somebody who doesn't know you, it's one of the biggest heartbreaks any kid or child or person can experience. Um, First and foremost, and I feel like we have all, you know, wanted to express ourselves in different ways because it just felt like who we are. And one thing I want to make very clear is that although we can express ourselves through phases, being a trans person is not um, a lifestyle. It is just who you are, because a lifestyle is something that you change into, or something that you attempt and you can, like, just not do it anymore. You know, like anybody can try doing a healthy eating lifestyle, but that's just like, something you attempt. That's not who you are. And as a person who is under the trans umbrella, uh, I've had so many like experience with my I guess transness, where sometimes I will always like second guess myself, or I never really thought about it, because when nobody expresses something to you or you don't know about something, you kind of just think that you're the only person that goes through that, right? So for the longest time, like I had always just knew that I was who I was. I never thought of myself as being like a gay person or like a trans person or like anything in between because I didn't know about a lot of those things. Um, I just knew that I was a different person and I felt comfortable being who I was. And I was lucky enough to be like a goofy kid who kind of like learned what humility was early on. So I can laugh at myself and still like love myself, you know. But as you grow up in society and society tries to tell you what you should be, um, it gets harder, you know. So I've definitely learned a lot of things in like my trans journey. Even now, like every day when I go to my day to day work, like Flo, we talked about again on a couple podcasts back. I think about working in a job, like how it is, how hard it is finding like jobs in DC, and we talked about the inflation what's going on in DC as well. It's just like crazy, you know, and it's even harder finding jobs where people are going to respect you and accept you for who you are, because even though they can't technically fire you or not hire you for you being a certain thing, they can like do it under the rug, right?
Mhm.
So there were multiple interviews. I had one on expressing like my authentic self, and I felt like I didn't get those jobs specifically because they were not ready to have somebody like me represent what they had to offer. You know, already with me being uh black as well, you know, being a double minority does not help.
Mm.
And even in my day to day job now, I work in retail, and sometimes it's hard for me to really self express how I really want to because I'm afraid to see how like mine. Well, not afraid. Uh, I'm afraid that I will lose my job, not afraid that I will be judged because I'm very comfortable in my skin, you know.
Mhm.
But there are certain things that are out of my control. Like I can't control if I get clocked at work. I can't
Mm.
control if I get hate crimed on my way home because I walk home. You know, I can't control how people are going to react. I can only control how I'm going to act. You know, so I think we just need to protect trans kids at all costs, no matter what they identify as. And like I said earlier, it's always going to be hard to accept um, things we don't understand or being scared of things that we don't understand. But it's not about and what people need to understand is at the end of the day, it's not about what you understand. You just have to respect people for their lifestyle because everything you do is not perfect uh in an opposite set of eyes. And that's
Mhm.
just the T, right?
Right.
Like, you know, and I think people don't really understand that people have this concept of themselves either that they think that they're so normal or they're so afraid to express themselves that they get jealous of other people expressing themselves the way that they want to, and it brings out this insecure anger. And that's just how it is at the end of the day. And kids uh can't do anything alone without a guardian or a parent. So we have to keep them as close as possible and protect them at all costs in general.
Mhm.
But trans kids are being attacked at such a young age, and it's not only affecting uh like them and their families, but it's literally taking their lives away. Like I don't think people really you won't really understand unless you're in like our shoes. Like people really don't get it, you know.
Mm.
So is it really worth losing your child because your child wants to wear like a skirt? Is it really worth losing your child because your child wants to wear makeup? Is it really worth losing your child if your child wants to, like cut their hair? You know. So it's like you really got to pick and choose your battles. And at the end of the day, you got to live your life the way you wanted to. And if you didn't, the whole point of you having children is that they get to have a better life than you did. Period. Don't bring
So,
nobody into this world if you want to control them.
oop.
And that's the
So
guy.
it is. I mean, I would just say this has been a very like devastating week. And like I said before, like we had such a beautiful Black History performance um with our young folks that were so inspirational and really paying tribute to pioneers in all genres, whether it's through entertainment or activism, and to hear news how much like our country is going backwards. It's like I can't even wrap my head around it. And as an educator, as we are preparing our seniors, well, basically everybody for college or like post high school, it's mostly like we prepare them academically so they
Mm,
could do well um in college, get a job with a higher salary because of the degree. It's like I don't think we have enough discussion in terms of what it's like outside of DC. Because, like I said, DC is fairly liberal. If there's any form of racism or discrimination, it is very, like, you have to look under a microscope. You know what I mean? But if you look at other
mm,
parts of the country where discrimination is more acceptable, it's like, how are they going to respond to that? How are they going to navigate that space? Like, I just feel like, because our students feel very, I don't know how else to put it, like, somewhat fragile. Like, I don't think they are built to face this beast, to be honest. Because I think they didn't expect to have to deal with this at all. They just feel like, okay, I just have to focus on school and getting a job. That's it. That's the only thing that they would have to really worry about. But if you look at the state of the country, like I feel like they would be so easily defeated. You know what I mean? Because they feel like, oh, I worked
mm.
so hard and put all this effort into something, and you know, it really hasn't gotten me anywhere. So
Right.
that's my fear when you hear the return of Jim Crow or like these bans on drag and the attack on trans youth. Like it is. Oh my God, it's exhausting. It is draining my spirit. That's why you just heard me on. Also, it is starting to get late and it's a very long day. Um, but all I can really say is that if we are, I hope our current administration, Biden, does some type of executive order to kind of stop this from happening. To do something. I think, I'm not saying that they're not working on something now. I just feel he hasn't been vocal enough, or at least so far that I have seen. Um, if that should change, I'll repost. But like, I haven't really seen anything to say that's truly outspoken or that he's working to reverse a lot of the wrong that has happened in this country. And hopefully that will change within the coming months because laws are complicated. It's quicker to erase a law than it is to create it. So I hope that our current administration is working diligently to put things in place to block Jim Crow. I hope this gets challenged in the Supreme Court. What we can do as citizens is really just to go out and vote and stay on top of stories like this because living in ignorance does not give us bliss. You're giving the advantage to the oppressor. So stay on top of the stories. Pay attention to politicians that actually work for you and protect you as the government should, and vote out these racist bastards. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching this episode. I know this was a little bit darker than usual, But we'll try to lighten up next week if we get some good news. On that good news. I need that good news. I need that good news. But no promises because we live in America. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. All live stream shows will appear on my YouTube channel as well. The audio version will appear on all podcast platforms, radio from Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and plenty more. Make sure that you follow me at Noir Vibes DC. If you would like to be a guest on the show, if you have a story to tell, please DM me or hit me up on Discord. Um, I have to take in my code. It's Noir Vibes DC. I think it's 1335. So if you like want to be a guest on the show, not just typing in the chat, you actually want to speak and share your opinion. I will create a Discord server where you guys could join and talk. And again, I really want to hear from you guys and have you guys participate because it's a lot going on. But I want to hear from you because I love y'all. All right, I will catch you guys next time, same time, Fridays at 10:30 p.m. on Twitch. Marcel, thank you so much for being on. Where can the people find you?
You guys can find me at C Doodles for my art Instagram, and you can find me at Melanin Prodigy on Instagram as my OOC, where I post some makeup looks and some hair.
Are you still doing commissions? Or are you kind of like put a pause on that now?
They're coming soon.
Alrighty, so if you're looking for some commissions, hit up Marcel. And as always, you can't go wrong when you go with the flow.
With the flow.
When you got that flow. I will catch you guys next Friday.
Bye.
Bye.